This is a lecture video for 9.5, evaluating expressions. So if there is no symbol or no sign written between letters or a letter and a number, you assume that there is multiplication. So for example, 2 times r can be written as 2r, and 3 times x plus 4 times y is written 3x plus 4y. So what we're saying is if there's no symbol between the numbers and letters, it means that they're assumed to be multiplication. All right, so we're evaluating, meaning there's no equal sign, but we are going to find an answer, okay? We're gonna put things together as much as we can to get an answer. It's pretty helpful because x is 2 because it tells us, and y is 7 because they told us. So we're going to write this problem to be 5 times 2. Why is it times? Because the 5 and the x are touching. Minus 3 times 7. Why is it multiplied? Because the 3 and the y are touching. So we've got parentheses, right? We're in that order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally rules. There are parentheses, but there's just a 2 inside and a 7 inside. So there's nothing to do inside the parentheses. So we move on from parentheses. The next thing is exponents, and there are no exponents or roots or radicals to solve. So the next thing is multiply and divide. I don't see any division, but I do see multiplication here and here. And so when we multiply, we end up with 5 times 2. Both signs are the same, so the answer is positive, so I get 10. And on this one, signs are different, so the answer is always negative, and 3 times 7 is 21. So now I have a subtraction problem that I need to change to addition and change the sign of the number that follows. So I end up with 10 plus a negative 21. Signs are different, so I'm going to subtract, and I end up with 11. So I'm going to take the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number was 21. It was negative, so it's negative 11. So we're doing the same thing that we did in the previous lesson, in 9.4 lesson, but we're just substituting in. Now we're given variables or letters in the problem, and we're going to take out those variables and we're going to put in these numbers and solve. So we're just going to do a few to make sure you get the hang of it. So we've done a problem that looks like this in the last section in 9.4. There may not have been letters happening, but we know what those letters become. They become these numbers here. And so r is 5, k is negative 2, and s is negative 1. So when we rewrite this, I have 6 times negative 2, and then I have plus 2 times r, and r is 5. And then I have all of that over 5 times s, and s looks like it's negative 1. Okay, so we're taking care of this as a numerator and a denominator. The denominator is not going to be too hard because it's just multiplication. So signs are different. The answer is negative. 5 times 1 is 5. So we're done with this guy. The top number, though, let's go ahead and write it so we can keep track of it and write things down below it. So parentheses just have the numbers inside of it, so there's nothing really to do with those. So we move on, and we see no exponents, no roots, but we are at multiplication. So we are going to multiply here and here. So 6 times negative 2, signs are different. The answer is negative. 6 times 2 is 12. I do my other multiplication towards the right. Signs are the same. The answer is always positive. 2 times 5 is 10. This is an addition problem. No need to change the sign, but the signs are different, so I'm going to subtract and take the sign of the bigger number. Well, 12 was bigger. It was negative, so negative 2 is the numerator that I have for this answer. Okay, now I have 2 and 5. And I know that 2 and 5 don't divide into each other evenly, and I don't really need a decimal number, so I'm going to leave them. But what I do see is that I have a division problem where signs are the same. So if signs are the same, the answer is positive, and so my final answer for this is a positive 2/5. See if I can change screens. There we go. All right, so this problem is a negative c when c is negative 2. And a negative 5 times b when b is a negative 3. So I have negative c. c is negative 2. Minus 5 times b, and b is negative 3. So notice that everything that's in black ink came from the original problem. And the blue pieces are the letters that I've just changed and put in the letters that are the numbers that are up here. So that's why there's a negative in front of the C, because there was a negative in front of the C to begin with. Okay, and the 5 was negative up here to begin with. So I didn't change anything. I just made sure I kept what was in the original problem. A lot of students make this mistake right here because -2 is negative already. They forget the negative that goes in front of it. Okay. All right. Parentheses just separate the numbers, so there's nothing to do in there. There's no exponent, so I need to multiply. So I am multiplying an understood -1 times a -2. Signs are the same. The answer is positive. 1 times 2 is 2. Over here, I'm multiplying a -5 and a -3. The signs are the same. The answer is positive, always positive. 5 times 3 is 15. I have a +2 and a +15. Signs are the same. The answer is always positive. Or I'm going to add and keep the sign, I guess, is how this one works because it's addition. And so I add and keep the sign. So 15 plus 2 is 17, and it's a +17. Final answer. All right, this is an area problem, right? Area equals, oops, sorry, I forgot to write the fraction bar there. Half the base, or half times the base times the height. And so the base is 9 and the height is 24 because it gave it to us. So we have A is equal to 1/2 times 9 times 24. All multiplication. So we're going to multiply from left to right. So here we go. I have 1/2 times 9 over 1. I cannot simplify there, but I'm going to multiply across the top and get 9, across the bottom and get 2, right? 1 times 9 is 9, 2 times 1 is 2. So this piece became 9/2. 24 over 1, because this guy's what I haven't used yet. I'm going to simplify in the diagonals, and I'm going to divide by 2 here and here, and I get 12 and 1. So I end up with 9 times 12 over 1 times 1. Well, 9 times 12 is 108 over 1. Well, anything over 1 is just a whole number, so 108. And guys, when we're finding area, it's actually centimeters squared, and that'll be part of your answer. Usually it's in there in the blank already for you, so you don't have to type in the centimeters squared, but the 108 is what you're going to be responsible for. All right, one more. Again, there's a negative in front of the x, so no matter what comes in here, the negative in front of that x has to stay there. So here is negative. My x is -1 minus 6. Oops, sorry, that was going to be black. Minus 6 times y, which is -4. So notice that the black parts come from the problem and the blue came from the x and the y. Okay, so now we're going to take care of this problem from left to right. Again, this is multiplication and multiplication. This is an understood -1. Signs are the same. The answer is positive. 1 times 1 is 1. Signs are the same. Answer is always positive. 6 times 4 is 24. It's an addition problem. Signs are the same. Add and keep the sign. Positive 24. Final answer.